Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and learn how to sculpt the ear on day 2. So before we begin sculpting, what we want to do is just map out where the helix begins, all right? And so we're just gonna draw, just like we did in the first tutorial. We're just gonna draw that helix crew, and then the helix tail ends about right here. We're just gonna map that out, all right? And this is going to be really the first component that will be sculpting. Make sure that your tools are clean. No clay crumbs on there. And we'll do much of our sculpting with the wooden knife. And what we want to do here is create a cavity, right, all the way around. You want to support wherever you push that clay. You do want to support the other side of it. And what that does, as you can see, is we've inserted that line, right, just in multiple angles, it's created a shadow visually, but it's also created somewhat of a cavity or concave shape, right? And we're just following along here. This is what we're creating, and as we get towards the tail, right, the tail of the helix, it does get a little bit thinner, so I am pushing a little bit closer in there. And we'll do the same thing here. Support the other side. I could also switch hands. And really just support it. Now, we've used the concave side of the tool and the convex side as well. And then from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the concave side, right, of that tool, and I'm just going to wedge it right under there to give us more depth, all right, on the helix. All the way around. And then what we want to do, all right, where the helix crew goes, right, we want to create more of a depth there. So I'm just going to push that down just like that. And we're actually going to push in, all right? So we're going to push in here. We're going to push that in just like that. So what we have so far is pretty good. Take a little bit of water. We don't want to add too much water, and we don't want to spray it directly on our sculpture as well. All right. And then from here, what we want to do too is begin on the anti-helix. All right. And this is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to draw that letter U that we were talking about. And I just sort of outlined it there. And that goes all the way into the cavity. I'm just going to push it down with a finger. And what we're going to do next, all right, is we're going to push down right here on the other side of the anti-helix. Just going to push down there. And get that depth, all right? So you could see how this area right here is now convex. We're going to do something really similar, okay? We're going to get a little bit more depth to the other side of our helix here. We'll go ahead, we'll push this clay down here on the helix tail. Just like that. And what we want to do, okay, with this helix here, where it begins, the helix crew, all right, we actually have to push that down into the ear. Just like that. And then we haven't really focused on the tragus, but the tragus will begin about right here. We're just going to draw a line, right? We got that anterior cavity or the anterior notch, okay? And then what we'll do here is that we'll actually just scoop out a bit of that clay. We're just doing that with our wooden knife. Now we don't want to scoop too much to the point where it goes all the way through the tile. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and smoothen. And if you follow that helix down, right, it's really intricate. It actually, we got to make sure we get a good connection with that helix crew. It goes in. This clay's still a little bit tacky. Yours may be more firm. And if it's too hard, you may be working at it and you'll need to get it wet. All right, and then now I do need to smoothen quite a bit here before we work on this tragus and anti-tragus. Just a little bit of manipulation with our finger. And this may be harder to do if you have nails. Just go ahead and flatten that. The rest of it will get blended. Push that down a bit. And once we add the path, right, the cavity for the eardrum, right, this should get a little bit easier in terms of visualizing what we have so far. Just pushing that down a little bit more. Got our tragus being established. Really working at that depth. And we may need to continue to reestablish areas that get covered. And if you need just a little bit of water on your fingertips, it does help to smooth things out. And what I'm doing here is really working on that tail there. The crew, right? The helix crew. Again, reestablishing the hole. Make sure you got a good cavity there. Just using my thumb to really establish those parts. And then here, just working at that cavity. There we go. A little bit of water here as we begin to finish this up. And then we have the anti-Tragus, right? It's a little bit of tissue here that we're just gonna pull from that clay. There we go. Just pulled it just enough. All right, now everything is just cleaning things up, right? Getting rid of any boogers, getting rid of any lines. And then we can go ahead and push the helix down a little bit more. And then we can pull that ear, pull it down a little bit to give it more curvature. More curve. A little bit of water. So my thumb as I smoothen things down. Get a real nice curve on there. If you have a brush, that really helps. Although not necessary. But to smoothen things down, you could definitely use a brush. I won't use it too much, but just on certain parts. I'm not going to use it on every single part. But just to smoothen certain areas out. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that part. And then we'll use a lot of the brush on the other side. Now this is just finishing. Right? We can make that earlobe hang a little bit more. If you want to put a piercing on that, that's fine as well. Just really blend behind it. Make sure there's no scoring. And if it's square, right, really smoothen that backside out as well. Get it nice and smooth. Okay, I got a little bit to work on behind the ear, as you can see. Maybe blend part of that better. There you go. Go over with my brush. And I'm done with the ear. All right, so give that a go. And if you don't get it exactly right, we'll have a chance to reflect on this and review your results. All right, capture your photos, frontal, side view. Okay, multiple angles. And that's it. We're all done.